Well, first is to practice the vulnerable leader equation. So, in everything that you do, try to bring together both vulnerability and leadership when appropriate. Or maybe another way to think about it is in any situation or interaction when you know vulnerability is going to be present, try to ask yourself, where can you also sprinkle in leadership so that it's present as well? Number two, one of the frameworks in the book I talk about is this concept of a vulnerability mountain, which basically means try to identify what's the scariest thing that you could do that's the top of the mountain, and what's something that you could easily do today or tomorrow that's the base of the mountain. And then you take steps each day, each week, each month to go from base camp to the peak. And you gradually take steps to improve and to get better and to experiment and see how things go. And probably the last piece of advice would be, it's part of another framework that I have, but I only need to talk about one part of it. And that's this tool I created called the vulnerability wheel. And what sits at the center of the vulnerability wheel is something called, we all know, intention, meaning don't share or do anything unless you know why you're doing it. So don't be vulnerable unless you have intention behind it. Otherwise, it treats the engagement and the interaction like a big therapy session. And inside of a workplace setting, that's usually not the best or the most appropriate thing to do. So ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I sharing this? And if you have that intention, then you can kind of go on to the next step. So those are probably the first three things that I would start from.